The rhythmic clatter of skateboard wheels against the concrete echoed through the empty parking lot as Jack, a 20-something skateboarder, practiced his latest tricks under the flickering streetlights. It was late, but Jack didn't mind. Skateboarding was his passion, his escape from the monotony of everyday life. With each jump and twist, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline coursing through his veins, his mind focused solely on the freedom of movement and the thrill of the ride. He was in his element, soaring through the air with grace and confidence. But as Jack attempted a particularly daring maneuver, his foot slipped on the edge of the board, sending him tumbling to the ground with a resounding thud. Pain shot through his body as he hit the pavement, his skateboard clattering to the ground beside him. Groaning, Jack slowly pushed himself up onto his hands and knees, his head swimming with dizziness. He could feel blood trickling down his arm from a deep gash on his elbow. But he ignored the pain, his mind racing with frustration. How could he have messed up such a simple trick? He had been practicing for weeks, perfecting his technique until he could execute it in his sleep. But now, all of his hard work seemed to have been for nothing. Cursing under his breath, Jack picked up his skateboard and staggered to his feet, his muscles protesting with every movement. He knew he should call it a night, head home, and tend to his wounds, but a stubborn determination burned within him. He wasn't about to let one little fall ruin his evening. With a grimace, Jack climbed back onto his skateboard and pushed off, determined to make up for his mistake with a flawless run. But as he rode through the deserted streets, something felt off, a sense of unease that prickled at the back of his neck. He glanced around nervously, but the only thing he could see was the empty expanse of the urban landscape stretching out before him. Shrugging off his unease, Jack focused on the road ahead, his mind clearing as he lost himself in the rhythm of his movements. He pushed harder and faster, the wind whipping through his hair as he sailed down the empty streets. But then, without warning, disaster struck. The pavement beneath his wheels seemed to shift and warp, sending Jack careening off course and hurtling toward a dark alleyway. He tried to regain control of his skateboard, but it was too late. With a sickening crunch, he collided with the wall of the alley, his body twisting and contorting as he tumbled to the ground in a heap. For a moment everything went black, the world spinning around him in a dizzying blur. And then, slowly, agonizingly, Jack began to regain consciousness, his head throbbing with pain as he struggled to open his eyes. As his vision cleared, Jack realized with a start that he was no longer in the alleyway. Instead, he found himself standing in a dimly lit corridor, the walls stretching endlessly into the darkness. Confusion and fear gripped him as he looked around, trying to make sense of his surroundings. Where was he? How had he ended up here? With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Jack realized that he must have hit his head harder than he thought. He must be hallucinating, trapped in some sort of fever dream brought on by his fall. But as he reached out a trembling hand to touch the cold, damp walls of the corridor, he knew deep down that this was no dream. This was real. And whatever lay ahead, he was going to have to face it head on. With a deep breath to steady his nerves, Jack began to walk, his footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence of the corridor. He didn't know where he was going or what he would find. But one thing was certain: he was no longer in control of his own destiny. As Jack ventured deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the mysterious place he had found himself in, a sense of disorientation washed over him, like a suffocating fog. Every twist and turn seemed to lead him further into the unknown, the oppressive darkness pressing in on all sides. With each step, Jack's heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing with fear and uncertainty. He had no idea how he had ended up in this strange place, or if he would ever find a way out. All he knew was that he had to keep moving forward, no matter what. The corridor stretched on endlessly, its walls lined with flickering fluorescent lights that cast long, eerie shadows across the floor. Jack's footsteps echoed in the silence, the sound reverberating through the empty expanse like a death knell. With each passing moment, the sense of dread that had gripped Jack since his arrival only grew stronger. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched, that unseen eyes lurked in the darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But despite his growing fear, Jack pressed on, driven by a desperate need to find answers. He had to know where he was and how he had come to be trapped in this nightmarish maze. As he walked, Jack's mind raced with questions. Was he dead? Was this some sort of purgatory? A place between worlds where lost souls wandered for eternity? Or had he simply stumbled into a hidden corner of reality, a forgotten realm hidden from the prying eyes of the outside world? The possibilities seemed endless, each one more terrifying than the last. But Jack pushed aside his fear, focusing instead on the task at hand. He had to keep moving, had to find a way out of this place before it consumed him whole. But just as he was about to lose hope, Jack spotted a faint glimmer of light up ahead, a sign of life amidst the darkness. With a renewed sense of determination, he quickened his pace, his footsteps echoing louder in the silence. As he drew closer, Jack realized that the light was coming from an open doorway at the end of the corridor. Without hesitation, he rushed toward it, his heart pounding in his chest with anticipation. But as he stepped through the doorway and into the room beyond, his hopes were dashed once more. Instead of finding an exit, Jack found himself standing on the edge of a vast abyss, a gaping chasm that seemed to stretch on into infinity. His heart sank as he realized that there was no way across, no way to escape the clutches of this nightmarish realm. He was trapped, alone and helpless in a world that defied all logic and reason. Despair washed over Jack like a tidal wave, threatening to drown him in its suffocating embrace. But even as he stood on the brink of despair, a spark of defiance flickered to life within him. He refused to give up, refused to let this place break him. With a steely determination, Jack turned away from the abyss and faced the corridor once more, ready to continue his journey into the unknown. No matter what lay ahead, no matter what horrors awaited him in the darkness, Jack would face them head-on. He was a survivor, a fighter, and he would not rest until he found a way out of the backrooms and back to the world he knew. Part 3. The Message. As Jack delved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the backrooms, he felt a sense of hopelessness begin to weigh heavily upon him. Every twist and turn seemed to lead him further into the darkness, further away from any hope of escape. With each passing moment, Jack's resolve began to waver, his spirit crushed beneath the weight of despair. He had searched for what felt like an eternity, but still, he had found no way out of this nightmarish realm. Exhausted and defeated, Jack sank to his knees, his mind consumed by thoughts of failure and loss. He had come so far, had fought so hard, but now it seemed as though all his efforts had been in vain. But just as he was about to surrender to the darkness that threatened to consume him, Jack spotted something glinting in the dim light, a small piece of paper tucked away in a corner of the corridor. With a renewed sense of purpose, Jack crawled toward the paper, his heart pounding in his chest with anticipation. As he reached out to pick it up, he realized with a shock that it was a handwritten note, its edges worn and frayed with age. Trembling with excitement, Jack unfolded the note and began to read. To whoever finds this note, and if you are reading this, then you have stumbled into the backrooms, a place between worlds, a realm of endless corridors and forgotten dreams. You are not alone. There are others like you, lost souls wandering in the darkness, searching for a way out. But be warned, the backrooms are not like any other place you have ever known. Reality here is fluid, ever-changing and fraught with danger at every turn. You must tread carefully, for one wrong step could lead you into the clutches of unspeakable horrors. I too am a prisoner of this nightmarish realm, trapped here for what feels like an eternity. But I refuse to give up hope. I refuse to let this place break me. If you are reading this, then there is still hope. There is still a chance for escape, no matter how slim it may seem. But you must be strong, you must be brave, and above all, you must never lose sight of who you are. Remember, you are not alone. Together we can find a way out of this endless maze and back to the world we left behind. Stay strong, my friend, stay hopeful, and never ever give up. A fellow wanderer in the backrooms. As Jack finished reading the note, a sense of awe washed over him. Here, in the midst of despair, he had found a glimmer of hope. A message from someone who understood his plight, someone who refused to surrender to the darkness. With newfound determination coursing through his veins, Jack folded the note and tucked it into his pocket, vowing to carry its message with him as he continued his journey through the backrooms. For hours he wandered through the endless corridors, his footsteps echoing in the silence as he searched for a way out. But no matter how hard he tried, no matter how far he walked, the exit remained elusive, a distant dream just out of reach. But even as the hours turned into days and the days turned into weeks, Jack refused to give up hope. He clung to the message of the note like a lifeline, drawing strength from its words as he faced each new challenge and obstacle that stood in his way. And then, one day as he rounded yet another corner in the endless maze of corridors, Jack saw it, a faint glimmer of light shining in the distance, beckoning him forward like a beacon of hope in the darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, Jack raced toward the light, his heart pounding in his chest with anticipation. As he drew closer, he realized with a shock that it was the exit, the way out of the back rooms and back to the world he had left behind. With tears of joy streaming down his face, Jack stepped through the doorway and into the blinding light beyond. As he emerged into the outside world once more, he felt a sense of overwhelming relief wash over him, filling him with a profound sense of gratitude and awe. He had made it. Against all odds, against all the horrors that had threatened to consume him, he had found a way out of the backrooms and back to the world he knew and loved. And as he looked back at the endless expanse of corridors stretching out behind him, Jack knew that he would never forget his time in the backrooms. It had been a journey of hardship and struggle, but it had also been a journey of discovery and resilience, a journey that had shaped him in ways he could never have imagined. With a final glance over his shoulder, Jack turned away from the back rooms and walked into the light, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead with courage and determination. For he knew that no matter what trials he may face in the future, he would always carry the message of hope from the note with him, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, waiting to guide us home.